Welcome to the Great Awakening Show. I am Joanne-Divine Life Yogini, and on this week's show, we have Tess Honeybell. Tess is a therapist, an entrepreneur, and founder of many professional and social projects worldwide. Tess created Every Kid Counts to help the plight of over 100,000 children enslaved as child beggars in Senegal, Africa, to survive in dire situations by providing nutrition, care, nourishment, and love. Human and child trafficking and modern day slavery is human suffering. It is the largest criminal activity in the world, with 40 million, mostly women, children, and some men trapped in forced slave labor or commercial sex slavery. It is also, unfortunately, one of the most lucrative and illegal industries, earning the organized crime syndicates and cabal elites who run them over $150 billion each year. No child, no woman, no man should be held against their will or be forced into such depraved living that takes their humanity away. We are sentient divine beings who have the love and light of God, goddess of divinity within. For it is every single person's birthright to live upon this wondrous Mother Earth in safety, peace, freedom, and sovereignty. Human and child trafficking and modern day slavery is the scourge of our world. Others who exploit other human beings by subjecting them to physical and psychological captivity through slavery are the evilists beyond evil. 8 million children go missing every year worldwide. And there is nothing more predatory or disgusting than child trafficking and child forced slavery of our beautiful, innocent, pure children.
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good. UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good.
Yes, welcome to the Great Awakening Show.
Okay. Hello. Thank you very much for having me. I'm delighted. It's such an honor.
Wonderful, wonderful. Tess, please tell us what does this Great Awakening mean for the children? For
the children that I work with in particular, it actually means they stop being a commodity. They stop being, they stop chasing money. They stop being slaves. They are actually seen. They're actually seen and viewed by all of humanity to be divine, holy children of God, because that is what they are. They're called Talibé, which actually means a student of the Quran. They're Islamic students, but they're treated now as slaves. They spend their days working on the streets collecting money. And the perception of change is for the world to turn around again and just look and see that they are actually God's holiest holy of all holy children. They are the Talibé.
Of course. All children are holy. You know, children are our heroes.
All children.
Yes, children are our heroes.
Absolutely.
They're the ones that are going to look after our world in the next generation. We have to look after every single child. It's so important.
Absolutely. Yes.
It's so important.
Yes.
We
do.
Tell us about how awaken our audience to child slavery and forced begging in Senegal, Africa. It's just horrendous.
Yeah, it's a shock. Well, first of all, to understand Senegal is a very peaceful, kind country. It's poor. It's a country whose the people are deeply oppressed in poverty. There's a great deal of money in Senegal. But to have even have like £1 in your pocket for a working man would be a lucky day.
Wow.
So it's a hard country. I live and work just south of Dakar, which is the sub-Sahara, so my view, actually, I'm sitting here today in my home in Italy, and I'm looking at the Sibillini mountain range. My view in Senegal is one of the biggest cement factories in Africa, with no eco violation of all human rights. So what we have a situation in Senegal is that we have what's called daras. They're Islamic schools, and it's an ancient tradition started at the time when Islam started, and we're a Sufi Islamic nation. So we are the mystics. We are the people who 750 years ago understood the enlightenment and understood that was the awakening of that part of the world, is Muhammad bringing Sufism, Allah, the one consciousness. We are all one. We are the divine. Anyone who reads Rumi poetry knows Sufism. Beautiful. We are the universe, literally talking and playing with ourselves. The Islamic schools have shifted over the last 10 years from being institutions where children came from, day school, coming weekend school like Sunday school, to living institutions, to now having 600,000 children and climbing. And a high majority of the children are actually used solely to beg for money. So they spend their days on the streets of Senegal, from sunrise to sunset, maybe get an hour of basic Islamic instruction in the middle of the day. They get no food, no water, no clothes, no education, no healthcare, no medical care, no dental care. If they're parents or they don't have someone supporting them, they have nobody. The actual institution itself gives nothing but takes coin. So if we think about 500,000 children begging, and they're bringing in 50p a day, that's £250,000 a day coming in. This is big business. This is the biggest industry. This is the highest profit industry, because you have zero, there's zero cost. So what's happened is that children are being trafficked in from other countries, neighboring countries. They're indentured. There's violence towards the children. Children have been known to be beaten to death. Children are chained up. There's nowhere to go, because where do you run? So, there's a very big difference. So in the daras, the religious schools, we have the 5-star daras, lovely, clean, caring, beautiful. And then we have the slave sheds.
Slaveries, yeah.
So and they are slave sheds. So the United Nations say that anyone who's forced to beg is a slave. These children are slaves. It's a hard day. It's a hard day for a child. They are from about the age of 15, 16, very young. It's a big shock.
Can I ask you, how can their mothers send them at that? Don't they realize? Is it just ignorance that they don't know that this is going on? They're sending their child into slavery.
There's a mix of how a child ends up in a dara. One is that parents send them away with good intentions. They go, and as I say, there's the 5-star daras, the 4-star daras, the 3-star, and the slave sheds. Parents will send their children away with good intentions and financially support. Other parents will send their children away and stop supporting them, abandon them, so they are left there for life because there is nowhere to go.
Wow.
Children, orphan children, a lot of the children who are coming in from neighbouring countries, Guinea-Bissau, Mali, Mauritania, are supposedly abandoned and orphaned children. There seems to be an awful lot of them.
Kidnapped
children
as well.
Oh, for sure, kidnapped.
Yeah.
Kidnapped. I mean, they don't speak the language. So the parents, I think, are very ignorant to what a lot of the daras. They're like so the people who run the daras are called marabout. They're the religious teachers. And the marabouts are the kind of top. The imams run the mosque. and the Marabouts run the teaching and Islam inside Senegal, and they're very, very powerful. And I would describe a lot of the Marabouts as a cross between a religious holy teacher and a witch doctor. So he's selling lotions and potions and etc., etc., etc. And he's very feared, absolutely terrified. Nobody touches a Marabout. Nobody goes up against the Marabout. So some Marabouts are good and some Marabouts are horrendous. So we have a mixed bag. But what we're finding now is we're estimating up to 200,000 children are indentured slaves. They're suffering from violence, poverty, live in squalid conditions. The 3 schools that I take care of, I have a little cafe that any child can come and eat for free, and we have up to 100 children every day, plus get dental care, medical care, come and hang out, draw a picture, have somebody to talk to, a place where they're safe, somewhere that is them. So we're doing, and we've had, it can be a cut and a bruise to a child that was set on fire, petrol burns. He's been every other day in a private clinic for 7 months, and our charity have paid for everything. And last week, his last wound healed. But when he came to us, he hadn't seen a doctor for 6 months, and he was just an open wound because there's no money. So the children come for medical care, for food, for care, for attention, for parenting, for nurturing, for nourishing. In my area, we have 3 daras, 3 religious schools. One is kind of okay. It's clean. One is better because we've put in running water, we've decorated it, we've put windows and doors and mosquito netting, bedding, made the garden for them. Still working on that project, but they have a really beautiful dara now. It's fabulous inside. You walk inside, everyone goes, ooh. It's a beautiful place. It's a religious school, and they have lovely bedding, and it's kept clean, and we do daily visits. And the dara we're currently working on is a 43 square meter concrete box in the desert, which has no water, no electricity, no doors, no windows, no kitchen, no toilets, no showers, no beds. It has nothing. The boys get up in the morning, go out and beg every day, and come back and sleep on a dirt floor.
God.
And then get up and do it all over again. So it's hard.
It's really hard. And what about sex trafficking and kidnapping and taking all these children? They're just like so vulnerable. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, they are. One of the good things about Senegal is that they don't have a high violence rate. They're not a violent country in that sense. It doesn't mean the children are safe, because they are not safe. But the instances of abuse outside Dakar. Now, Dakar, the city, like any city, is a much higher, high risk area. The children in my area are lower risk, but still high risk. There is no low risk. When they beg, they go to people's houses, and they go inside people's houses to get food, to get money. They are children who are wandering the streets for anybody to do what they with.
Exactly.
So we actually, as part of our organisation, we're a protective agency. So what we do is we have people in the community keeping an eye out for the children if it's getting late, making sure they get home. When I first went there, they would go staying out until 11 o'clock midnight. Like 4-year-olds just wandering around at midnight asking people for money on the streets. It's tragic.
And can I ask you as well, why it's a beautiful religion, Islam, surely other countries, well, they probably don't know about that, but even like the neighboring in Africa, that it's just, how can they abuse the religion? These teachers, they're abusing it, from beating children and putting them on the street as slaves. That's not religion.
Absolutely.
It's
not religion. That's slavery. So I think that how can they do it? Money. They do. I think from the ones that I'm quite in an interesting position here, because I'm the only person that's working inside the daras. with these people. So I'm in an unusual position that a white lady or anybody
of course.
is actually inside the Daras, working now with the Marabou, creating proper schools and living spaces and shifting them out of this this begging situation into actually proper educational situations. And I have a very definite deal with the Marabou. You have to change everything you're doing to have my agency in here, building your toilets, putting in a well, decorating.
So you're dictating, you're telling them, look,
if you
want us to come and do this, then you have to abide by our, our
you
rules.
have to abide.
Yeah.
So they're not, it's hard to understand the mentality. I mean, I'm a trauma psychologist, so it's very much my field. I've done other projects around the world working with children, street children in the Caribbean, working with children in Mexico, India. So the government don't do anything because they're not in control. No, actually, it's the religious teachers that are in control. The religious teachers actually are in control in the country, yes. And the Marabous are very feared and revered. So the people kind of step back, almost like, the religions that, Christian religions were 50 years ago. I mean, we're getting all the stories, horrendous stories coming out of Canada now. Yeah. And this is only from the 50s, 60s and 70s. Absolutely. So my work is to say, this isn't going to happen here. We're going to make the stop now. So working with the Marabou to teach the Marabous how to do their jobs. Now, some of them are monsters and some of them are institutionalized humans who grew up in a Dara, and this is how they think it should be done.
They became a slave. They went begging. So therefore, that's
absolutely how they are, and they grew up. So it's like, if you can imagine, the Artful Dodger is now Fagin.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So going with a sense of kind of trying to understand where they're coming from, but getting them to understand that they need to now make a shift, and the shift into compassion and into care and into actually participating and being a loving teaching presence in these children's lives. When I first started working with the Daras, there was violence inside the Dara, like the Marabou would carry a whip. Yeah. And the teachers would carry a whip. And I remember I arrived one day and he's sat in his chair and he's got the little ones, my little ones, the little ones lined up, and he's saying, step forward, and he's whipping their face. And I'm like, okay, first of all, give me the whip. And all the little boys are like, and I'm like, give me the whip. This is like whipping the face of God.
It's terrible.
So,
is it just boys or is it girls as well?
No, in the Daras, the living Daras, they're all boys. They're all boys. So they're all boys. So they don't have, in one Dara, their Marabou has a wife and 2 children. The other Dara, the wife, Marabou, has 4 wives, grown-up children, and they have 27 children under 10. That's the Marabou's family. And they're nearly all girls. They're so beautiful. So you have the Marabou's family living in the big house with all the children, and then the boys living in a 28 square meter house in absolute squalor, and they're all boys.
And that's funded. Their beautiful house is funded by the slavery and the begging of all the boys. That's terrible. In the name of Islam.
Absolutely. Well, it is in the name of Islam, because this is so what happens with is institutions and ancient ways of being, they get distorted. So let's come back to where we started this conversation. What is the Great Awakening?
Yes.
It's waking up from the distortion. So who needs to wake up? The Marabous need to wake up. The government needs to wake up.
They need to evolve, just like the rest of the world is evolving in this new energy that's coming into this new earth. You can't, just because you've been doing it this way for the last 100, however many years, doesn't mean it's right. Is it?
No, absolutely. And and the way to change it is through changing perspective. Often, I've heard the saying that enlightenment is really a change of perspective, if more than anything else.
It is.
And the change of perspective for the Marabous is to see the joy, the absolute joy of what it is to work with these children, to truly feel the love in your heart
Yes.
for these beautiful children, and to be loved, to be really loved. So how do we change that?
Yeah.
Change that through being very aware of what we are, being in the place of being very present with our own ego and our own self-identity and what our story is in this. Am I the savior? Well, no. Am I the guide? Well, no. To go in the presence of the essence of what it is. In Senegal, I am Hadija. Hadija is the Islamic name of the first wife of Muhammad. She was the woman who wrote the women's rights and the children's rights, and children's laws. The laws of Islam for children are very defined and very, very straightforward. Every child must have an education. Every child must be fed. Every child must be loved and nurtured and cared for. Every child must be protected. And very, very defined. Male and females are completely equal in Islam. In fact, Islam, and it. Oh, of course.
Is that written written in the Quran?
Absolutely.
But they don't.
Absolutely.
They don't.
No, but who are they? Who are they?
Yeah.
Who are they?
Yeah.
Who are they? We have to be very careful with the words we use, because they are humans who are using
misguided
a philosophy to misguide. So
yes.
No, actually women are slightly more revered in Islam than men. I'm an Islamic woman and I have more rights in my Islamic marriage than any Italian or Spanish or Greek or American woman has in her marriage.
Wow.
So oh yes, I'm very protected. You can, and as an Islamic wife, you cannot ask me for money. You cannot touch my property. You can never ask me for money. What I earn, I keep. Your job is to support me and my children. So there's been a translation going out, but no, the laws of Islam are very specific and it's very clear. And I think this idea with the gender, that Islam has an issue with gender. One of the things that Hadija brought, and it was the first time ever in the history of humanity that someone actually wrote a laws for that said that females, and she was very much the influence for Muhammad. Hadija is a 40-year-old, very, very successful businesswoman, and Muhammad was only 24 when they married. So she was the guide. And it says very clearly that if you show even slightly on your face when your child is born that it is not a boy, you are turning your face away from God. So Islam is very respectful of women and very much respectful of all children and all human rights. And so what I work with in the Daras is the human rights written by Allah, which is the human rights of every individual, and they are equal rights. And it is not about violence. It is about education, nurturing, food, healthcare, dental care. And Islam is very clear. Do not give birth to a child that you cannot educate, you cannot feed, you cannot love, you cannot respect.
Brilliant.
Don't take a wife that you cannot afford. So what I'm doing is introducing for the first time into the Daras the actual teachings of Islam.
The true teachings, the divine teachings that have been
exactly, because there is only one teaching.
Yeah.
So we work with the United Nations and the Islamic University produced a document, and it's very clear. It's written in Arabic and English, and it's very clear that the Islamic rules of children, and that's what we work with. So I'm not going to any institution demanding my white lady ideas. I'm bringing the words of God, and that's what we work with the words of God. Because and also, so the change in perception, the enlightenment. So this is how the world's going to do. Okay, this is how Senegal, in my opinion, this is the project I'd love to do with UNICEF. If I could get funding, this is one of the things I'd like to do. Is to set up a poster campaign and a TV campaign. So the Senegalese eyes who see these hundreds of thousands of scruffy, tired, dirty, poor little children who come up and grab on them for, a piece of food or something, as not rejects, but actually holy children. Yeah. These are the sacred children of Islam. And imagine if walking through life as a sacred, holy child. If all that's the awakening, that every child, everywhere it goes, on every street, is every human is saying, my job is to protect that child. My job is to make sure that child has what it needs. My job is to make sure that child is eating. If that child doesn't have shoes,
and that is our responsibility, isn't it? Any adult's responsibility, because it's not our children. I've got 4 children, but it's not just our children. We have a responsibility to all children. It's their birthright to live a decent, beautiful life and to not be in harm's way.
Absolutely.
I mean, 8 million children go missing every year in this world. And so many of them, human sex trafficking, child sex trafficking is so rife in so many countries.
Absolutely.
This nefarious, industry is £150 billion industry. It's just,
it's big money. It's big money.
It's terrible.
It's big money. It's they are commodities. You asked me at the beginning, what is the awakening when we stop seeing these children as commodities. Even our own children, as people, in our culture, see children as possessions. That my child, my child, you do what I tell you, are my child. So not seeing them as possessions, and people to stand up and actually be present with it. One of the things that, because Islam is very protective of the individual, one of the things that the boys have a minimum amount of sexual abuse. Homosexuality is illegal in Senegal, which is horrendous. Horrendous. Cannot be openly homosexual, but it does reduce the attacks on the homosexual attacks, on the paedophile attacks on the children, because it is so horrendous that if they do catch you, they will damage you. So that is not a protection, but we're talking about but my work is to understand, are the Marabous, the Marabous are paedophiles. Come on, a man on his own with 100 children in a shed in the desert. So that's what I work with, is to work with my first thing I do when I go into one of the daras that I'm working with, the first thing I do is put doors on all the rooms that the children sleep in, with a lock on the inside, so nobody can come in and pick them off in the night. Yeah.
Bless all the children.
And to be able to build up. Yeah. Absolutely. And build up a trust now. So with the bullying and the abuse, we now have a trust system that the children come to us and tell us if they get hurt.
Beautiful.
And that has made a massive difference. Yeah. Because now the little ones, the really little ones, are coming up saying, this one did this, and we're straight away. Yeah. If you hurt another child, you're banned from the cafe. We go to the Dara, we bring the Marabou, we sit the child down with the Marabou, and we say, this is the story, this child. And we've had children separated from other children, taken out, removed, and taken back if we can find parents, because they're not capable of sociopaths, psychopaths, narcissists. We're a mix of all, but we now can pull out the humans that we cannot effectively work with, and at least separate them away from the other smaller children.
But I think your power, I think your power is in having them, of Islam, the rules, of Islam, and taking that into them and saying, look, this is the human rights written in the Quran. This is what God wants for his children. Yeah. And then when you come in, this is the true teaching. Yeah.
Demands. It's not negotiable. No. This demands.
That's right.
This is the demand.
And then what can they say? It's like, it's an awakening for them.
Yeah. Well, that's the awakening and it's also the awakening for them. So what I'm finding is that now with one of the Marabou, with the fact who has all the wives and all the children, that now the youngest wife is starting to mother the youngest of the little Talibés, which wasn't happening before. So we're finding that every time we go to visit, the children are being fed, they're getting nursed. The little boys are sitting in with the rest of the family watching the football on the TV. So what's happening? It's kind of becoming a blended family, as opposed to the slaves and the family, and there was a divide with all the goats and the horses and everything else in between. The families. So now the Marabous, because I have a little cafe that feeds the street children.
Yeah, it's called
Taliban and anyone else.
It's called Peace Child Cafe. What a beautiful name.
Jam Halle Cafe Jam Halle. That says Olof Cafe Jam Peace Halle. So when we greet each other in the street in Senegal, we say, you know, salam alaikum, malaikum salam, peace be with you, peace be with you. Next thing you say, ça va bien, because it's got the French influence. And then it's, you know, then we spot jam rek, peace. I am with peace. I give you peace. I stand here in front. You talk literally 5 minutes of I'm coming with peace before you start a conversation about anything. You're like, wow, this goes. But jam is used every single sentence. Peace, 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 peace. So what we're doing is so Jam Peace, the Peace Cafe. So now the Barabouche children, so the children who are the children of the religious school teacher being financed by the children, also come to the cafe on Saturday mornings with the boys. And at first that was a little bit like the boys were like, this is our spot. And then we're integrating now, and we have a football team. So we actually have 3 teams, different ages, and they're playing now. They're having matches against the other towns and villages. So the Talibé have a good, because my husband, who's a football coach, he's got this team. So now on the beach in the afternoons, you see the Talibé kids who are clean because we're dressing them and they have water, pour onto the beach and just jump into football games. So we're integrating them into the culture and the society. They're not alienated. They're not separate children anymore.
Yes. So that's what they need. They need that community. They need that acceptance and belonging, you know, because they've been given away. You know, must be
they've been abandoned, most of them. And also, you know, in Senegal, you know, people have nothing. I mean, really nothing. You know, it's just a concrete box. But what they do have is they have clothes, they have fabric, and everybody dresses beautifully, and they're very clean. In Islam, prayer is 5 times a day. Before you pray, you wash 5 times a day. I mean, it's full wash 5 times a day. So to be dirty, to be wearing rags, there's no dignity. So the biggest shout I have at the moment, you know, we need money for the cafe because we're feeding 100 children a day. We need money to build the Dara. But what I'm really shouting for at the moment is I really need shoes. I have 226 children, all need something on their feet because their feet are cut to bits.
Really?
That would be the big shout from your crowd.
So tell us, please, how can our audience help your cause and, you know, awaken others to this child slavery that's going on?
Yeah, I think the thing Ted, first of all, you can donate. There's a GoFundMe, so you can put that link so someone can send, I mean, £5 help, £50
and your website is
So every kid counts Senegal.com, and they can donate. And we are very small. So what we're in the position now where we started last October. We have done incredible things. We've started the cafe, which we're doing this feeding project. We've decorated one Dara. We've just dropped a well, which cost us £1,400. So we're now got 100 children, and plus the neighbouring village all getting fresh water. We're putting toilets in. We're clothing. We're all volunteers. So we're like, so the next, what we're going to now is we just need some financial backing to get to the next stage when we can start asking for aid from the bigger agencies to set up education projects, to set up
I don't understand why
projects.
I don't understand why UNICEF and all the big ones, Save the Children. I mean, what's happening here? You know, you are one woman with your one, you know, I mean, with this cafe. I mean, what is going on?
Well, for a start, it's not politics. You know, actually, it's easier being a one-woman cafe than it is to be UNICEF. Politics, and politics. And I'm too small. My agency's too small for UNICEF to work with. So, it's all politics. Who's doing what where? And not necessarily they don't want to come in. So what I'm talking to a German agency who bring in education projects. So I don't necessarily want my agency to become an education project, because then I stop having that on the ground time with the children, which is what they need most. But to bring in, you know, to possibly build an education centre for the teenagers who are going out into the world. I mean, they've been institutionalised, some of them, since they were 3 years old. They're 15, they're getting kicked out, they've got no education, no skill sets. no homes. So to set up education for, you know, for them, to set up education centres. I'm looking to get financing to set up a tailor shop to start making bespoke children's wear, so the children can start financing, so that can self-finance. They can make the clothes. And, but we have to be careful we're not putting children into
another
a tailor
form
shop.
So, you know,
we're back into child slavery. So the children who are actually at that legal working age can train up as professional bespoke tailors. I mean, you can see the lovely, lovely clothes we wear.
I know, that's gorgeous. Clothes. Look at what you're wearing. That's beautiful. Yes.
Yeah, well, there you are. See, that's luckily that was one of my early career was in design. So we're looking at setting up a fashion company selling children's clothes.
Wonderful.
And that will be made by the thing, but beautiful quality stuff that will then feed back into the. So everything we're really moving. Set up a gardening project so they can feed themselves. Set up training. That is the next stage. What we're at the moment is trying to get through financially. So we've been open since October, and we have done all of this and less than let me see, up to now £11,000. So, you know, we're doing it all like
so please, you know, we'll put the link below and you can donate.
Put the link below, save some money.
To help save these
beautiful children. If it's a pair of shoes, do you know what? Giving a child a pair of shoes is huge, because they are literally walking the tarmac on these dirty roads.
It must be so hot on their feet as well.
Well, their little feet, well, they get cut. You see, that's the problem. We get so many foot infections because they get cut, because the roads, you know, it's just rubble and it's the sub-Sahara. It's filthy. It's filth. God, I mean, in 5 more years, you're not going to be able to see the sand for garbage, because there's no garbage collection. They're breathing the fumes, the silicon from the huge cement factory, and they go home and live in a shed in the desert and don't even have a toilet. So we're bringing in lots of joy and lots of fun. And I will say, the children, when you look at the Facebook page, the children are so happy. They're like this. Well, they're healthy. Because they're looking cleaner.
Yeah. And you know what you've given them? You've given them hope. You've given them love, which they've never had before.
Absolutely.
Imagine the trauma. Protected. Imagine the trauma, you know, of actually being sent there away from their mother and father in the beginning, and all their siblings. That must have been
all of it,
just especially so young, you know, and then going into even more abuse, going into abuse. Yes. That's just terrible.
It's just, you know, what we don't, what I understand about working in this part of Africa is that people have lost the connection of children. They've lost sight of, like, I mean, I see when you're 18 months old, you're on your own.
Yeah.
You know, this is the other part. This is the other misunderstanding about Islamic culture. The women don't, I mean, nobody has a clue about contraception or about even how the reproduction system. God sends you a baby. I'm 59 and they keep asking me when I'm going to have my next child. And I'm like, you don't know. I'm like, really? And they're like, don't you understand that I've been through menopause? I have no eggs. They're like, oh, but God will send one. I'm like, no, he won't.
No, not now.
No, not now. And, but that, you know, so Islam is very much pro contraception, very much pro family planning. But of course, the myth is that the women cannot. So all of these things are going to evolve through being a presence. And I think that, you know, one of the messages to send out to the Great Awakening is that, you know, we women and men of privilege, and by privilege I mean our education, our where we grew up, our knowledge base, our ability to access information, our sources of income. We are so needed in places like Africa, because when we come with our humble, open hearts, the people know that we have what they need, and they're very welcoming. Yeah. They are joyful that you can, you know, there is no mother that will not let me sit down and pick up her child.
Oh, that's so beautiful, isn't it?
No mother. Because I sit, they know me. And I can sit and I'm like, not well today. That child's not well today. We need to go to the clinic. And they can you take a Hadisha? I said, come on, we go now. I pay.
Beautiful.
So they trust, they need that. You know, so more people come to Africa, even if it's just for a month or 6 weeks.
And I think that Africa has been the country has been so raped, has been
completely
of its natural resources, all the diamonds,
everything, every day,
all the elite went to Africa and just took everything from it.
They still are, but they still are.
Children in the mines to mine for that little tiny,
they still are.
For, that's all them chemicals, that little tiny beautiful thing that's used in every single phone around the world. It's terrible. So I think that this Great Awakening is about not so much of this elite corruption that has been taking over all these corporations and all this, they're being taken down. Old systems like that, the old guard of, evil and corruption and negativity is being taken down to make way for the new guard of compassion, of love.
That's it. So people need to stand up, but they need to stand up and not, we need to step forward as the elders. We need to stand up and we need to speak. And that comes in every moment of every day. And that's enlightenment. It's actually to live. It's like, as Ibram X. Kendi says about anti-racism, as a white person, I am racist. I understand I'm racist. I've been programmed racist since I was born. I don't know how not to be racist. The lie that I have been fed and programmed with is
social
in
conditioning
my DNA.
from the whole of society. That's how they program you.
So we must walk every moment, and every moment we must choose anti-racism. And the same thing with everything. We must actually decide, do I want this product? And basically consumerism dictates everything. If you stop buying the product, they change the product. Guess what? They can make a phone without the chip. They've already had it. They've had it sat there on the back shelf, just waiting for it to be forced forward. Like the idea that, you walk into Tesco's and the idea that they're still selling chemicals on the shelves which are poisonous. I mean, how bizarre. It's like
all the food that you in the supermarket is inedible. Anyway, it's not even food anymore in the supermarkets. But every time we have a choice, though, don't we? We have a choice.
We do have a choice. As the privilege.
This is about this Great Awakening is the choice, and we have to stand up, and we have to stand up for ourselves, stand up for our rights,
absolutely,
and for the rights of every child on earth.
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good. UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good.
Absolutely. So how do we stop child slavery? Boycott countries who actively run with slaves. I have refused to go to Thailand because they have an open child sex trade. I can't see any point doing yoga and looking at my belly button when I know in the next hut the child is being raped to death. Don't go there. The government will make a choice. Well, the government will make a choice. Sex tourism or healthy tourism. Guess where the real money is?
Exactly. In that £1 billion.
So we've made great changes in our lifetime, you and I.
Yes.
We've seen the world change, and I think we've both been quite shocked at how it's kind of fascism has creeped back in. We're like, wow, what? I never thought in my lifetime I would.
They want us to be like communist Chinese, all the same. That's what they want, the elites. But I'm telling you, this is the Great Awakening, and this is the greatest time to be alive. And so many people, because of what is happening, because of the harshness, because of the negativity, because of the contrast, because of the pressure, it's forcing people to the precipice and forcing people to awaken.
That's what it does.
Forcing them to say enough is enough. We're not going to live like this. Yeah.
But this is the human being. The history of humanity has always been as the animal. We've had to run to the edge and fall off and then go, holy shit, and then change direction. But we have to do it pretty fast because we're running out of time.
Yes.
We are running out of time. So whatever we can do in this moment on this earth, that's our work. Not tomorrow, next week when I grow up.
Yeah.
And it's just
choose
different
life.
to what
choose
toothpaste
love.
you buy. Choose love, choose life, and choose to stand up and open your gob and say no. And that's really important, because
and speak about it as well. Also, Tess,
and be open about it.
We've got to speak about it. You know, I put things on all of my social media and everything. And, you know, some people, they get so offended. You're getting offended about children being, you know, abused. Speak about it. Talk about it. This is what is going on. People, you know, it's a £150 billion industry. You know, it's overtaking the drug industry now.
And it's a business. Yeah, but it's a business, and it's allowed. It's being allowed.
Yeah.
It's being allowed. Now, the reason that I choose to take care of my boys is because I don't allow it. And whoever any of these guys think they are the Marabou, believe me, when I walk into the door, they jump.
Yeah.
They jump, because I do not allow it, and I do not back down. I will not back down. So face me or change your ways.
Wow.
And that is simple.
Exactly. And
we need
that is so beautiful. You know, you're so, you know, that divine, powerful woman, that divine feminine, you know, that's what we're raising. All the women, this time is really the rising of the feminine, the rising of the mother energy coming in to take our place, to raise up. We don't want to be higher than men. We just want to have that balance, that unity consciousness.
Well, we're just exactly the same. But men and women are exactly the same. The only difference between a man and a woman is less than 1%, which is our hormonal, and the rest of it's programming. So we have to smash the programming. Smash the programming, change the programming, because there is no difference. We feel the same.
Yes.
We feel the same. So
you know what it is?
When we are hurt,
you know what it is?
We feel the same.
It's the ones that have been controlling this world for so long and putting all the money in their pockets, and you know, and everyone else has suffered from that. You know, keeping us suppressed in everything. That's really, really the segregation: black against white, male against female, rich against
of course, it's huge
poor.
Business.
They've been doing that.
But it's huge business. Divide and conquer. I mean, you read it. So the thing is to not be divided and be conquered.
To come together.
Is to unite and to stand. And it's a simple thing, walking down the street and seeing someone abusing another person and just choosing to be aware. To pick up your phone, to say something, to phone the police, to make a comment, speak to the teacher. To
not walk on the other side like the Samaritan walked on the other side, but to get involved, say, that's not right, you know, that's not right. And to look
if you
and
can,
acknowledge.
don't put yourself in danger. Your environment is more dangerous than mine. Put yourself in danger. But to actively pursue it and when people are being, because that's, I mean, I find that when I go back, like the last time I was in the UK, I was surprised at how rude people were to me. And I was like, why are you being so rude to me today? And they're like, and I was like, wow, everyone is so defensive and so
it's
hurt.
Fear. It's fear. It's
so hurt.
Fear.
Well, it's actually panic. It's not fear, it's panic. Fear is what stops you stops you walking in front of a car. Panic. It's panic. Panic is different.
Yeah.
It's panic. It's trauma. It's trauma response, and trauma response is panic, not fear. Fear is healthy. Fear stops you getting run over by a bus. It stops you running down a dark alley in the middle of the night with no clothes on. That's fear. Panic. Panic.
Exactly.
And that's trauma-based. So traumatized.
Yeah. But we're rising above that. We're rising above that because it's a choice. It's the choice to stay out of that panic and in your place of acceptance and love.
Yeah, I think I think there's so much kindness.
There
really
is.
It's rare that we meet it's rare that we meet the horror story.
Exactly.
People might be seem hidden, but actually kindness is most people are very kind. They do what they can.
They are.
And they do what they can. And I think
all the ordinary people, we have innate kindness. We are innate, kind human beings.
Absolutely.
It's the nature of humanity.
Absolutely. So that trusting of the heart for me is the great awakening.
Yeah.
Trusting your heart. It's
Beautiful.
the guide. It's the guide to everything. And just coming back and really re-regulating shame. Shame, the beautiful emotion that lets you know when your moral compass is off. We've swung to shamelessness, and we need to swing back to a nice, healthy shame of, you know what? Yeah, I didn't do a good thing there. Pick up a phone. It actually is very easy. It's actually easier than you think to admit that you're wrong
Yeah.
and to rectify and to atone.
Lovely.
And to be honest and not to push and shove. And it's okay to be fierce.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Especially women in this time. It's very important for us to stand up for our rights and stand up for the rights of the downtrodden and the ones who don't have a voice. You know, the young ones.
Absolutely.
This is what we're here for.
Absolutely. That's exactly it. And when a woman's fierce, very few will face her down.
Exactly.
Because
and you're one of them
mother bear. Nobody, honey, touches the mother bear. So, ladies, really, get fierce.
Yeah,
fierce. Protect our children. Help me protect the children. How can we change what's happening in Senegal? Help me stand between the abusers and the children. And believe me, I will stand there and I will not back down. Lovely. And that's what they needed.
Oh, yeah. I just want to say, Tess, thank you for all of your work you're doing for the children, uplifting them and making them people know that they are divine. And I just want to say thank you for doing a Great Awakening show. Thank you.
Brilliant. And thank you very much. Really. And to everybody that's listened to us today, I can feel your presence and your divine love. Beautiful. Lovely. Bless you.